Hi, this is Mike Fauché, aka PC Doc. I'd like to walk through a short video on how to install Hyper-V into Windows 8, as well as how to install a VM into Hyper-V. So the first thing you have to do is actually activate Hyper-V because it's not on by default. So clicking on your control panel, and you can get to it a couple different ways. I happen to pin mine to the start menu because it seems like I've been spending a lot of time there. You're going to click on uninstall program, and you're going to turn Windows features on and off. And as you see from the list, here's Hyper-V, so you'll need to install Hyper-V. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, it's installed and it's asking for a quick restart, so we're going to go ahead and restart it. Okay, now that the computer is restarted, we're now ready to verify that Hyper-V is actually installed, so let's go ahead and do that. Go back to the control panel, click uninstall a program. Let's take a look at the Windows features, and there we have Hyper-V is already installed. So far we're in good shape. Let's go back to the start menu, and what we're going to see on the start menu is we now have the Hyper-V Manager and the Hyper-V Virtual Machine. So let's go ahead and click on the Hyper-V Virtual Manager, and you get kind of a semi-unattractive screen, but this is where everything is going to be created from. So the very first thing we're going to do is we need to create a Virtual Switch Manager, and that's used for basically virtual network cards. So I'm going to go ahead and select external because that creates a virtual switch that binds your physical network. So we'll go ahead and do that. You also have a choice of private or internal, but I'm going to go ahead and use external. So I'm going to say create a virtual switch. I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to call it Mike for now. And it defaults to the only network card I have in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK and say yes. Okay, I've now created my virtual switch, and I'm now ready to install a VM. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new virtual machine, and I'm going to walk through the wizard. So I'm going to click on next. Okay, the first thing it does is ask me to name it. So I'm going to call it test VM, something very creative. The next thing I want to take a look at is it's asking me where do I want to store the VMs. Well, since I've created a storage space volume, I'm going to go ahead and store it there. So I'm going to click on store to a different location. I'm going to hit on browse, and I'm going to go to my computer, click on the new volume I created, click on VM, select folder, and that's where my storage location is going to be. So then at that point I'm going to click on next. It's now asking me for startup memory, so I'm going to give it 2 gigs of RAM. Click on next. This is where I select the switch that I've created. So I'm going to select on Mike because that was the name of the virtual switch I created. Click on next, and here you see kind of the file name, the parameters, the size of the virtual hard drive. This is using the VHDX format, so it's going to go beyond the 2 terabyte limitations. For this, I'm just going to go ahead and make it a 30 gig drive, and I'm going to click on next. And from here, I want to go ahead and click on install operating system. I'm going to use an ISO file, so I'm going to click on browse. I've already copied in an ISO file, but you can pull that from anywhere that you have or any location that you have. I'm going to click on open, click on next. Here's a summary of my installation. So I'm going to go ahead and review that, make sure it's exactly what I want, and click on finish. And in just a few seconds it went ahead and created my virtual machine. Notice the state is off, So the first thing I can do at this point, since I haven't yet installed the operating system, so I can go ahead and connect to it, and I'll now see a console come up, or a window come up. I can also go ahead and click on Start. And there are many ways to do this. I'm just showing you one way. And as you can see, the VM is starting, and because there's no operating system on it and it's pulling it from an ISO file, it's going to actually walk through the installation, and you'll see the old familiar Windows install screen. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and stop, because basically the rest of it is just a standard Windows 7 installation. Nothing special about it. So, hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much.